Okay, we'll get started. We'd like to welcome Justin Rose into the interview room, our 2023 AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am champion. Justin, your 11th PGA Tour victory. I know this one moves up near the top of the list, winning at Pebble Beach. If we can get some comments.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I feel like I have been fortunate enough to win at some great venues, but Pebble's right up there. I mean, just that walk up 18 to sort of be able to build a bit of a lead to kind of enjoy it was a very special moment. And I think obviously when you're a bit starved for a win as well, the fact that it came today on a weather day like we had and at a venue that we had today was just worth waiting for.
It was a long week. You came back this morning and really strong out of the gate. Just talk a little bit about the rest of the final round this morning.
Yeah, strong out of the gate for sure, but the first hole of the day was proven to be, it was in the middle of the fairway last night, and then we knew we were going to have a slight wind shift to the northeast, which was meant to be down off the left, but when I kind of got to my ball, it was kind of dead off the left, but it was playing really long out there. So I kind of hit a 9-iron, pitch middle of the green, spun off to the front right of the green, and then putted up. Still, again, really hard to get a gauge of actually what had they done with the greens overnight. Had they cut them? Didn't really look like they'd cut them. So left it 4 or 5 feet short, and I felt like that was a big momentum maker, I suppose. To miss from short range early would have been kind of just a frustrating start, but to make that putt was awesome, and then bury a 30-footer on the next hole, I felt like was exactly the type of start I needed today.
Okay, Justin moves to number 10 in the FedEx Cup standings. We'll take questions. We'll start with Jim on the front.
Just bring me back. When you returned to the golf course Sunday morning, Monterey Peninsula number 9, did you see yourself winning this tournament?
Actually, to be honest with you, I had a goal. You never know if you're going to win, right? But I knew I was in the tournament still. I had a goal of getting to, I thought I could get to 10 under. After that day, I ended up getting it to 12. But I was aware, I can't think of what I did realize that the Sunday morning was I realized the opportunity I had. The way the wind had shifted, the way MPCC was playing. When we got back out there, I knew there were birdies to be had. So I kind of, from a mentality point of view, that wasn't lost on me. And I feel like that kind of intentionality around starting strong there that morning was the key to the week, probably. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Doug.
After that, sorry.
Thank you.
Now you can hear me. Yeah. 5 went into 9. I mean, if your ball doesn't blow from 3 feet to 7 feet away, which leads to a proper stoppage.
Yeah.
And you're playing the rest of MP on Saturday in those conditions, what does that do to your odds?
Yeah, I mean, it hurts them considerably, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was a break. That was definitely a break. It wasn't just my ball that moved. I had a couple groups earlier it was happening, and then also, Greg Penner, our amateur as well, he hit a putt up there and it rolled off as well. So, 50. Yeah, I couldn't believe it was only one green the way it was blowing. So anyway, yeah. Listen, that was just that was a moment that I guess you're out here long enough on tour. Occasionally you catch a good break. So that was a good one.
All right, let's go to Ron.
Yeah, yeah.
Justin, you mentioned the wind and the elements. How would you sort of convey the distinctive challenge of Pebble? I mean, with the small greens. Excuse me. I mean, power certainly is rewarded, but it seems like it's unique to a lot of courses, and that it's not, power's not a prerequisite, that you can win in different ways here, right? And there's different elements involved than maybe there are at a lot of places.
Oh, for sure. I think Pebble's a great golf course from that point of view. And, the greens are so tilted, actually, that when they're firm and they're small, it plays very difficult because, obviously, it's tough to hold them, and then you've got a lot of downhill tough chips. They're so tilted that when it's soft, like it is at the moment, it's still very difficult to control the spin. So, like you say, if you're hitting wedges into the green, you think you have a great opportunity to score, but actually it's very hard to kind of control the wedge and stop it close to the hole, given the tilt and how soft they were. So, yeah, we even talked about like the way to play 18 today. You're almost better off having an 8-iron or a little, chippy 9-iron into the green than to have a 56 degree where, it'd be really hard to kind of keep the ball not running, spinning back off the false front there. So. Yeah, it's a really strategic golf course, but fun golf course too, because it does offer up some opportunity and some birdies because of that.
If I can ask a follow-up, given that you know, the women are coming here for the first time in July for the U.S. Women's Open.
Yeah.
How do you think it will suit the LPGA players? And it seems like because power is not mandatory, that it'll be an interesting challenge for them. But I'm curious your view.
Yeah, I think obviously they hit the ball so straight generally as a generalism. But the fairways are quite wide here, so I feel like it's going to be very much approach play driven. And I'd only imagine in the summer they can get the course nice and firm and fast. So I think anybody who has the ability to kind of flight the ball higher and with a little bit more stopping power is going to do really well on this golf course. I think would be like what I would think would be the prerequisite for doing well here.
All right, back to Doug.
You've been eligible for every major dating to St. Andrews in 10. How much was that on your mind at all coming into the year, Augusta?
Yeah, Augusta's definitely been a big part of being on my mind. You know, I thought the simple way to approach it was try to play my way into the top 50 in the world by whenever the date is, sometime in March. So I kind of knew that, you know, I think my world ranking divisor is only 37, so I had a few free hits, if you like. So I knew that making some points was going to do me good. And that was my intention, was to come out and play solid and earn some points and, you know, claw my way up the world rankings and make it that way. Obviously, this is a better way to make it by winning a tournament. And, you know, it's funny how by winning you earn the points and everything takes care of itself. So, yeah, big relief from that point of view to be able to plan a little bit more, you know, of the run into Augusta now, because I was playing a little bit more than maybe I'd have wanted to because of that fact. But you know, to have the luxury now is unbelievable.
You were starting to play better in the fall. You mentioned Houston, but you'd had some decent finishes. First of all, what was how bad was your back when you withdrew from St. Andrews last summer? And what do you consider what kind of gave you the spark or the turnaround?
Yeah, the back wasn't that bad. It was St. Andrews was like a one swing kind of thing. Something just happened. And then I kept coming back. I'd not play golf for a week or two, feel good, come back, and it would just be really, like, painful, I suppose, niggly. But not like, I wasn't injured in the sense of I was totally out of it, but by playing golf, I was really irritating it nonstop. So I took a period of time, a couple of months off, really focused heavily on the gym, took golf out of the equation for a couple of months, I guess through October, November. And then, you know, I was just there in England, just really training hard, and then introduced sort of hitting balls slowly again, and, you know, feel absolutely fine because of that. I felt like I just had to do a bit of reconditioning on the fitness side, and there were a couple little moves in my swing as well that were, you know, aggravating it, shifting left a little bit too soon, too early. Yeah, so just maybe compressing a couple of vertebrae or whatever it might have been. But I think it was more of a biomechanic thing than it was actually, oh, there's a big issue. No more niggles, no.
All right, let's go back to Alex and then Jim.
Yeah, Justin, when you won in 19 at Farmers, there was a lot of questions about the equipment back then with the home and stuff. Do you think eventually you obviously have changed out of that? Does the fact that you switched to that equipment to begin with, do you think that kind of stalled your progression along the way from 19 to now?
You know, if I look back at that whole period of time, you know, a lot of it was the reason I left TaylorMade was that they weren't prepared to do a 14-club deal from memory, and I really wanted to use the Axis One putter, which I still continue to use to this day. And I think statistically, my putting in the last 3-4 years has been the strongest part of my game, and it's been improved since the previous decade. So that was my main reason for going in a different direction. I think that's the way it seemed to play out from memory. So that kind of left me with looking around at an option. Home Run, I'm disappointed it didn't work out better because I actually feel like they make good stuff. I felt like maybe I fell foul to the fitting process and just having someone to really help me through the change and the transition. But, you know, I won with their stuff. So, I mean, definite testament to the fact that it was decent. I think I started going a little off the boil with my game as well, and then at that point is the challenge. Like, is it the equipment? Is it the game? And that's where I wasn't quite able to put a line in the sand quick enough, if I'm honest with myself. But, you know, I haven't been that comfortable with my equipment for the last 2-3 years. You know, having choice is also quite tricky, and too much choice. So, yeah, I feel like the real key is having there's so much good equipment. It's almost having someone that really knows your game and helps you with the fitting process. I think that's probably the most important part of it all.
And the other part is, since you hadn't won for 4 years, when did the winning kind of kick in for you, that you kind of got into that mindset that you used to have?
Today, you mean? Like
yeah,
this
today or this week?
You know, it became a reality, obviously, after the Sunday morning restart and playing my way into, you know, right into the lead there. So, you know, I finished eagle par birdie, and I guess I went from being in the pack to jumped out front. So at that point, you've got to take on the challenge and say, okay, this is it. You know, this now you can always put things down to process and, you know, try to play that mental game with yourself that it's just one shot at a time. But at that point, you know you have a chance to win, and that's real, and you want to take that opportunity.
Okay, let's go back to Jim and then Ron.
Just curious, over what hit you more in a negative way, not winning in 4 years, or dropping to 71 in the world?
Neither. I think just not feeling like I've been hitting solid golf shots. You know, actually the feeling of how I've played. You know, and that's been the frustrating part. The result side, you know, I feel like I've achieved enough in the game where I don't strive for being back to #1 in the world, or, you know, my only goal is to really play well enough where I feel like I can win majors. You know, obviously rule number one, you've got to be in them. So obviously, you know, moments like this are very important because it gets me back in those sort of tournaments. And two, I just want to keep working on my game to the level where I feel like if I have a good week and I play well, like I've got a chance to win a major. That's kind of that's what I feel my 40s are going to be all about. You know, I feel like I've pretty much ticked most other boxes, but the major championship hurdle is one that I want more of.
All right, let's go Ron and then Ben in the back.
Justin, apparently no European player had ever won this tournament, the Pro-Am.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, Graham won the U.S. Open here,
Yeah.
but this tournament, are you surprised by that? And it's a long tournament, obviously. And what does that mean, I guess? Is there any significance to you of that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, European players, I think, throughout the 80s and 90s, didn't have a lot of success on the PGA Tour, period. You know, I don't think. You know, Feldo did decently, but, you know, even he didn't win prolifically over here in the States. West D. Clark, those guys that were at the peak of the powers in the European Tour days, never really won a lot over here. So it's really only been the emergence of, you know, John Rahm and, you know, maybe myself, even in the last sort of decade or so, that there's been more opportunities for European players. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me a ton, actually. But, you know, but Pebble is the type of golf course with the conditions and the elements that you think, you could argue, would suit a European player a little bit more, you know, and maybe there should have been more opportunity for them.
Let's go to Ben in the back and then Pal.
I apologize if this has been asked already. I got here a little late, but on 18 green, it looked like you shared a nice moment with Peter. Do you mind just telling us, you know, what you talked about and just that moment with him?
Yeah, I mean, Peter's just one of the best guys out here on tour. You know, he plays with so much sort of enthusiasm and energy, and yeah, he was great to share the golf course with. And we share a mutual coach who's actually based in England, a guy called Justin Buckthorpe. I hope Peter doesn't mind me sharing that. But yeah, we just kind of, I don't even know if that camera was doing anything relating to the broadcast in England, but we kind of just saw a lens there, and we were like, hey, JB, you know, two of you guys in, you know, one group. And I haven't played with Peter before in that type of situation. So yeah, we just kind of shared that little moment to say hi to a mutual coach and friend.
Okay, Pal.
You mentioned the majors and how important that is to you. With the split nature of golf now today, how much did that weigh into kind of, you know, staying on the PGA Tour and despite, you know, grinding, like you said, for 4 years and not being able to win until now?
Yeah, great question. I mean, access to the major championships is, you know, a large part of my decision to be playing where I'm playing, for sure. And, you know, obviously, you know, playing in events like this that have a great history, that give access to iconic golf courses, all of those things, you know, winning, you know, events that really matter. And, yeah, but first and foremost, playing in major championship golf, it's something, you know, I have won one, but that's where my childhood dreams lay. And, you know, having access to that was really, really important to me going forward.
Okay. Let's go back to Alex.
Yeah, so I guess to delve a little further into that, how much involvement did you have with the discussions on LIV
Sorry, say again, Alex.
How much involvement did you have in the discussions on Live?
Not a great deal. I mean, I have had, obviously, through the, I don't know what, 4 or 5 year process that this has been all being talked about. There's been moments where leaned into it a little more closely, and moments when, but when push comes to shove, you know, there was never a moment where you're like, okay, well, there's a pathway to achieve this, and this. So never really further than that.
And on the other hand, obviously this week there's going to be a hearing in the UK in regards to those players that are on Live that are still European Tour members. Do you have a position either way on that? Do you have a problem with these guys that are Live guys playing in European Tour events or not?
Listen, it's definitely strengthened European Tour events if you're looking at it from a field point of view and things like that. But you know, I think part of me thinks, you know, you've made a decision. You know, you should just get your head down and stick with that. But at the same time, a lot of these guys have given a lot to the European Tour over 2 decades, and you know, maybe that should count for something too. So listen, I've tried to keep my nose out of it because a lot of them are my friends and they remain my friends. You know, and I don't judge their decision, you know, because everyone has their own parameters for what makes it, you know, a good decision or not. So, but listen, I still continue to stay in touch with them and, you know, wish them the best. I don't really want to make a determination on that one. But I actually don't even know what the ins and outs are of the legal situation, what actually is at stake, to be honest with you. I've lost track of all that, to be fair.
All right, back to Doug. Couple more.
I can catch. First of all, where are you living and why?
I'm living in England because I'm English.
You're born in South Africa.
That's true, yeah, but I'm a mutt. No, children. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, and you know, felt like, you know, I was living in the Bahamas prior to that, and you know, that was wonderful, especially when the children were young. But we just felt like, you know, education in the UK was something that was important to us, and unfortunately, that they're at their age already, where, you know, putting them first, I suppose, is the reason.
To talk about the majors, and I'll get to my one real quickly here. I'm basically hearing that, and pardon me for making up a number, but $60–80 million cash up front is not as important as getting into the majors. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Not as important as winning a major or two, for sure, but you've got to be in it to win it, yeah. You know, and I think that's it. Just sort of giving up on that opportunity is what you got to look yourself, you know, in the mirror and just say, you know, is that something that's worth it for me? And being one of the players is very fortunate to have done very well out the game of golf. So, moments like I've just had, and it's nice to speak about it from, you know, I've made the decision based upon blind faith, you know, and hope to win and hope to put myself in the situation. My game hasn't produced many of those opportunities of late, but still have had that belief that it's possible. So to be in a situation on the 18th green at a place like Pebble, holding a trophy like that, that's what it's for. Yeah. Secondly,
Ryder Cup. You talk about the Masters being on your mind. Well, where does the Ryder Cup fit into this for you?
You know, again, you know, where I've been with my game, I've had to be quite selfish and just focus on me and focus on my improvement and what I need to do to start playing better golf. So I haven't even entertained what the Ryder Cup looks like for me, other than I want to be there. But I've also had to be, and I've said it to Luke, you know, Hero Cup and things like that, beginning of the part of the year, I'd love to have been involved in it, but I felt like what was really important to me was getting off to a good start on the PGA Tour, so I wasn't under pressure later in the season, so I could turn my attentions to Ryder Cup and the European Tour, you know, as and when that becomes the important part of the phase of the season. So, you know, the plan's gone pretty perfectly, to be honest with you. 3 really good solid weeks out here, and, you know, built a platform now to be able to look at the rest of the year in a much more positive light and start earning points. And you know, obviously love to play my way onto the team, but wanted to be a player that if I'm playing well, Luke has to consider and feel good about being part of that team.
Just from an experience standpoint, everyone's looking toward a kind of a shift toward a younger team.
Yeah.
How valuable do you think experience would be?
Yeah, I mean, I think every great team needs a blend. And I think that the most important part for the European team, I think, is going to be the youngsters that do come through, because you need the firepower, you need the talent, you need the guys that are out there who aren't scared and going to make a bunch of birdies for you, you know. But also 2 or 3 or 4 guys to be able to glue a couple pieces of the team together is really, really important combination.
All right, we'll wrap it up with Ron and then Ben.
One last Pebble question. Is there any hole out there, or was there any moment today that sort of illustrates what we talked about earlier, the distinctive challenge of Pebble? I mean, in your mind, is there one shot or hole that, you know, you don't face anywhere else that's unique to this place?
I mean, it's just the sort of, I would say almost like, you know, take it back to number 6 yesterday even. It's a 3-wood into a 50-yard wide fairway, but I hit it in the left bunkers because it's just the enormity of the Pacific Ocean that's just there, and the cliff and the sheer, you know, the magnitude of that kind of just makes you aim 20 yards further than you should. And that's just what makes those holes great. You know, if that was just rough down the right-hand side, it would be a bit of a sort of a nothing hole, really. But the fact that that cliff is there, you know, it just makes everyone play further left. You know, the other 2 guys hit drivers. They chose to hit drivers way left of the car path up into the hospitality area, but it's a 50-yard wide fairway. So it's, yeah, it plays with your head a little bit. Those, you know, obviously that whole loop, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, I think that's really, that gives the golf course so much character.
And one sort of related thing, I know you had a 3-shot lead, but you're standing on the 18th tee, to your point about the enormity of the Pacific. And today the waves are like crashing.
Yeah.
It's not just visually, but it's
100%. Yeah. No, I mean,
how does that mess with you when you're standing on this?
I mean, I was standing over that. I mean, I was choosing a line that I was never going to have to reload. You know, because if you hit driver and you pull it left, it's like hitting it out of bounds. You know, obviously with a 3-shot lead, I was going to cover land as soon as I could, and at that point, you might make bogey, but you should take out a number. So, but yeah, when I'm standing over the 4-iron, you know, yeah, you're aware of it, so that means it's something else to deal with for sure. It's great, fantastic.
What was that noise again, Justin? Let's go to Ben in the back.
Spell that one in your story. Yeah.
Justin, I noticed right before the trophy ceremony, you shared a moment with your family just on FaceTime. Just can you talk about how special it was to share this victory with them, even with them, you know, being thousands of miles away? Yeah, you know, obviously they were front and center in my mind as I finished, but I still felt very calm and really was just enjoying the moment. Didn't feel too overwhelmed or emotional. But then as soon as I spoke to them on the phone, I was like, okay, yeah, I could just feel the, you know, the tear ducts go a little bit. So, but you know, that's great. It's kind of, it's why you play, and it's you know, it's who you do it for. So, yeah, that was special.
All right, last one, Doug.
Yeah, as we go back to are you playing LA?
I am playing LA.
Okay. You going back to England?
Yeah. Doesn't make a ton of sense, I know, but.
Well, that's all right. What, I mean, just given the $20 million purses, what was it that made you want to play, set the schedule you did?
Yeah, Phoenix has never been an event I've played historically, so I would have only have added it for $20 million, really. But I've been focused on actually FedEx Cup points, quite honestly. So 500 FedEx Cup points there, or 500 here, or maybe they're 5. I don't know what the other. I don't even. They're still 500, yeah. So that's, you know, that's been my primary motivation, is to make sure that I'm where I want to be. So it's nice you said I'm 10th in the FedEx Cup, because my position's been starting with a 1 for a long time, it feels like, but like 101 or 102. So it's nice to have trimmed a whole digit off of that now. So, but that's been my focus, and that's the main reason I set the schedule I did, as well as just trying to. I was meant to go and play Hawaii, if I'm honest. I was meant to play Hawaii, Palm Springs, San Diego, home for 2 weeks, back out for LA. Hawaii came around a little too soon. I was like, you know, I need another week's practice. Let's just add Pebble. That's honestly how this whole thing played out, and delighted that it did, and support this tournament. You know, when it really is a great tournament, and yeah, I've loved being here. So I'm, you know, glad it all shifted in my direction there.
When are you coming to LA?
Sunday. Yeah, so 5, 6 days. I know. I am thrilled, yeah, but yeah, my wife's not thrilled.
Well, Justin, we couldn't be happier for you.
Thanks,
Congratulations.
guys. I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.